I was thinking about something motivational to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember what it was. I think about this from time to time, and it's a little anecdote from my life that I wanted to share with you guys in the hopes that maybe it will hold some value to you. Now, as you guys know, and I've said it time and time again, and I'm not saying this to embarrass you or flatter you. I'm just saying, as a matter of fact, that meeting Hila has been the cause of everything good in my life. I mean, besides having a loving, fulfilling life partnership, it's also led me down the path of being an entertainer, which is something I can almost certainly say I would never have explored or achieved on my own. As you guys know, the catalyst for that was that Hila was in art class, and she had to make videos, yada, yada, yada. Long story short. Now, if you go back to when I first met Hila in Israel, it was in the midst of my most severe years of anxiety disorder. I was pretty much dysfunctional. When I think back to myself, I had so much anxiety and dysfunction. I mean, just even holding a conversation was extremely challenging to me. And I remember it was so bad. Some days I would just stay in my room sick because I told him I wasn't feeling well because I just honestly could not muster the strength to go out and be with this group of strangers, frankly. And I wasn't really clicking with anyone because I was just a mess anyway. And so before I connected with Hila, there was a young man on the group who was a paranoid schizophrenic, and apparently he had probably lost his medicine or forgot it or just stopped taking it. And he started going into a very severe episode of mania and psychosis.
That was during the first week of the birthright, where I wasn't part of it yet, right?
Yeah.
Because I was the soldier that they bring on to the group, and you guys were there for 2 weeks, and we came in on the second week.
Right.
Basically.
So Hila wasn't there. I didn't know her. Hadn't met her. But for some reason, I ended up hitting it off with this. I ended up hitting it off with this guy a little bit before the episode kicked in, because he was kind of a loner and he was having trouble socializing, and I think I just gravitated to him because well, probably a little bit because I identified with him, that I was kind of suffering the same thing, but also I wanted to, I felt bad for him, and so I gravitated to him a little bit. That was before the episode. Then once he started losing his mind, I could tell there was something wrong with the guy because I remember the exact moment he lost it. We were at some tomb, and the whole group was there, and it was kind of confusing because it was this whole mountain. They called it like the unknown soldier's tomb or something, but there wasn't really like a specific tomb. It was more like a space. And he raises his hand and he goes, "Is this the tomb?" And she goes, "Oh." He says, "Where is the tomb?" And she says, "Oh, we're at the tomb now." And everyone laughed at him. I was like, well, that's kind of a valid question. I was confused about it too. Everyone started laughing at him and giving him shit, which is weird because they were all kind of like in their 20s. Mm-hmm. And I was walking with them, and one of these fucking kids goes by. He goes, "Hey, I'll just call him. I don't want to use his real name. I'll just call him
Michael.
Carl." He goes, "Hey, Carl, where's the tomb?" Or just like total like high school.
Really?
I mean, it was so douchey. I was blown away. And from that moment, he started acting super weird. We got on the bus. He was like totally out of it. We got on the bus. I'm sitting next to him. He turns to me and he goes, "The devil talks to me and tells me to do bad things." That was what he's told me. And I immediately was like, "Oh, dude, this guy's like unhinged right now. I don't know." And he's slowly deteriorating on the bus. He's like grabbing people in front of him, not like hostile or just weird. Mm-hmm. He's trying to talk to people and he's hallucinating. He's having like And I'm a little scared for myself and the safety of others when he told me the devil talks to him and tells him to do bad things. I was like what? Like, why don't you tell me like what? But then he says something like innocent, like, oh, if I smoke a cigarette, then I'll die, or something like that. Then he starts talking about how he starts telling me, yeah, I'm schizophrenic. I got diagnosed with it, and I thought it was better, but you know, he was really dark, dude. He started talking to me about like how he wanted to kill himself, but he didn't have the courage to do it.
Wow.
I was like, fuck, man. I felt so bad for this dude. Apparently, he was doing pretty well back home on his meds. He was working, holding down a job, but I think just putting him in this, it was a very stressful atmosphere for him, and he wasn't connecting with anyone. And people were making fun of him, for Christ's sake. So ridiculous. So on the bus, I tell the guys, I was like, hey, something's going on with homie, and we got to check him out. And he's out of it. He's out of it. Like, there's no question about it. Like, he starts struggling with the tour guide, and he doesn't want to get off the bus. And eventually we pull him over, and the police come, and they handcuff him. And we go to the police. And so I'm the only one that knows him, and they are asking for someone to help. So I volunteer to go help. We go to like the police station. He's handcuffed.
Why is he handcuffed?
Because he was just acting erratic, unpredictable.
Okay.
I mean, he thought, oh yeah, right. One of our tour guides he thought was the devil, and he punched him in the face.
Wow.
He goes, you're the devil, and he punched him in the face. He wasn't a small guy either. So he was acting like violent, actually, at one point. And, well, I'm going to tell this whole story because it's interesting, but I'm going to come back and make a point of it. So we're in the police station. They're trying to get a hold of his family to arrange a ride home for him. They don't know how they're going to put him on a plane because he's having an episode. They really don't know what to do with the guy. And it was crazy. On the way to the police station, they pulled over for some reason. I don't remember why they pulled over, but he got out of the car and he ran and jumped the fence into like an orchid and disappeared.
Oh my God.
It was the craziest shit. One of the craziest things I've ever witnessed. And the tour guide and the police officer are running. They say, stay by the car. And they're running into the orchid. I can't see anyone. On the side of the freeway. The orchard. You know, it was like lemon trees and shit. You can't see anything. And then after like 20 minutes, nobody's coming. He comes wandering out by himself. They're not with him. And I'll never forget, there was a fence there, and he kept trying to jump over it, but he couldn't. And then, slightly to the right, there was a hole, a giant hole that you could easily walk through. And he keeps trying to get out, and then he walks right by the hole. And he's trying to jump over the fence right next to the hole. He doesn't, you know. So eventually, they show up, they get him, they handcuff him, they get him back in the car. And I said to the tour guide, I said, listen, I honestly volunteer to fly back with him and cut my trip short. And well, they eventually I didn't have to do that. They figured something out. But I was ready to leave. I was ready to go home. And I mean, the difference that would have made in my life is immeasurable. I mean, like, seriously, that I would have never have crossed that crossroad with you. And so he left, and soon afterwards, you came on the group. And I was in the midst of dealing with all this. I mean, I was so fucked up. I wasn't sleeping. I could barely function. I was just a total fucking mess. And this situation was just even weirder on top of all that. And, like, somehow through all of that, like, I was able to muster the strength somehow to talk to you. And I think it was probably good in a way that you couldn't speak English totally because, like, I was able to be more comfortable and that.
Yeah. I was gonna say I couldn't tell. Like,
Well, yeah. Most people probably couldn't tell that I was
I mean, I
dealing with that shit.
had no idea.
But anyway, what ensued was that we hit it off, obviously, and the rest is history. But the point is that thinking back on that, is that like just pushing through and forcing yourself to do things that are you don't want to do but you know you should do, whether that's talking to a girl you think's pretty or staying on or working through social anxiety or
Something outside your comfort.
something outside your comfort. Like no matter what shitty circumstance you're in, you have to push through it no matter what. And the truth is that if you can push through that uncomfortable circumstance, that impossible circumstance, it will pay off every time. It will get better. It will pay off. You got to face your fears and you got to just push through it. Looking back, I don't know how I did it. For me, it was just like...
Did it try to talk you into not leaving the guides?
They told me, yeah, they did. They're like, you should just stay, you know, you've helped enough. Like, that's ridiculous, whatever. But I was ready to do it. I just, you know, part of me wanted to leave too, frankly, because I was like so over it. But when I saw you and I kind of got over all that and just tried connecting with you was, and even going on the trip to begin with, because I didn't want to do that. Just the point is that if you can work through all this stuff, force yourself, it will pay off every time. And if I would have just succumbed to my anxiety and the situation and the circumstance that I found myself in, and just been like, you know, I'm not in the right mood. I'm just this pathetic, anxious, fat, fucking bearded loser, and I don't even try to talk to this girl or you know, come on this trip at all. My life would be somewhere else, far less good. Sure of that. So I often think about that crossroad in my life because there was so much going on, and I'm very proud of myself in retrospect for being able to still make a connection with you somehow. So that's just my little story that maybe is useful to someone out there.
I mean, I feel like I can see myself in those situations a lot when I look back, and I always see the result of pushing through the uncomfort. Like, even the idea of being in videos at first was like just not even an option for me. And look today, like I don't know, I still can't watch myself, but like I hate watching myself. But obviously I'm trying to work on that. Obviously it's insane. But I'm so happy that we did that stuff, and a lot of times you pushed me to, even with drawing, and you pushed me through doing more and not being shy, and just like on so many aspects, wherever I see that I can point to myself at a time when I did something that I know I was uncomfortable doing and I pushed through it. I can see now like how much it paid back. Always.
I would even look to people out there, and to myself and you, is like when you feel uncomfortable about doing something, sometimes that's your cue that you should do that thing. If there's something that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe that's the thing you should be attacking. If it's something you want to do, if it's something you see yourself doing, but there's something holding you back, you know?
Yeah. Even with Teddy Fresh, like, because I gotta work with people, and sometimes those meetings with other people seem so impossible to me.
Right.
And give me anxiety, just the idea of meeting with a team.
Right.
But then every time I do it and I come back and it's like, oh, the meeting was so great. Like,
Yeah.
So good. So productive.
Yeah. This podcast is an example. For almost like up until maybe just now, every episode was like, oh, like I got so anxious before and I was so worried about everything and I would come out feeling like shit. But I knew it was worth it and ultimately a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy that we've been able to build this podcast as well, which was something I was very uncomfortable with from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The thought of being in front of a camera, unfiltered,
unedited,
raw,
yeah.
baby. Stuffing my face with chicken, getting drunk. I've learned not to get drunk.
And maybe not to stuff yourself with chicken. We're
That'll
working on that.
I'll never stop that. But you guys know what I'm saying. Yeah, and you know, that's it. That's all I got to say. And most of all, don't go on Twitter when you're on Ambien.
I thought that bitch was white!
Right, Dan?
It's good advice.
Thank you.
The ambient part.
Well, that just came out. I guess it was all the chicken sandwiches I ate or something. But, something inspired me at that moment to share that story with you guys.
Popeyes.
Yeah, it was that Popeyes spicy sauce. Got me feeling
I can't
emotional.
believe, like, when I think back of us on Birthright, it just feels like a different lifetime. It's
Well,
so
yeah, I
crazy.
mean, we were just a bunch of stupid kids. We're so young. You were 19, I was 21. I mean, now I'm 34, you guys.
And I'm 31.
So that was a long time ago we met. And you are not very long in the tooth at 19 and 21. You know what I mean? You're just kids then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see the era of our relationship. There's like that era, and then there's the
Santa Cruz era.
Yeah, the Santa Cruz era, and then there's the
Israel.
Israel era. And that's kind of it's all. Well, there's the Israel era, there's the LA era, but that's like the serious.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same story for me. Israel feels like a dream. I mean, really, I lived there for 5 years.
I can't believe we lived there for 5 years
and
together.
it's just like a dream to me. Like that, it's all just a haze.
Life is so weird.
It really is. And we've only been doing YouTube. Remember this, because this trips me out. We've only been doing this professionally for like 4, 5 years.
5, probably.
It's not that long. That's basically how long I was in college. That feels like a haze. I can't remember a single fucking thing from college. Except
Yeah.
World of Warcraft. Lots of World of Warcraft.